Bright QT. Every student matters.
Let us now look at the exercises, all right, and try to discuss the question answer. So here we have first one, we have to tick the correct option. Okay, so each question has 4 options. You have to tick the correct one. Let us look at them. The first one asks, Tipu Sultan was killed in the year 1787, 1785, 1784, 1790. 1799. So, which is the correct answer? The correct answer is 1799. The second question, the Battle of Plassey was fought in the year. Option A 1756, option B 1750, option C 1757, option D 1752. The correct answer is option C 1757. The next question. The Battle of Boxer was fought in 1747, 1765, 1745, 1764. The correct answer is D, 1764. The next question. Nana Fadnavis was an able Maratha leader, accountant, king, minister. What is the correct answer? A. Leader. Nana Fadnavis was an able Maratha leader. The next question. Lord Dalhousie implemented the policy of subsidiary alliance, give and take, doctrine of lapse, paramountcy. So the correct answer is doctrine of lapse. Okay. Now, next set of questions is fill in the blanks. So there are blanks, we have to fill them. Let us look at them. The first one, after the Battle of Dash, Mir Zafar became the Nawab of Bengal. So after the Battle of Plassey. Okay, Mir Zafar became the Nawab of Bengal. The second, the English fought the Third Mysore War against Dash. The English fought the Third Mysore War against Tipu Sultan. The third question. Dash was the Governor General when the Second Maratha War was fought. It was Lord Wellesley. In Dash, the next question. In Dash, the first Anglo-Sikh war was fought. In 1845, the first Anglo-Sikh war was fought. The next question. The doctrine of lapse was put up by Lord Dash, Lord Dalhousie. The next question. In 1802, Peshwa Bajirao signed the subsidiary treaty at Dash. So the next question. In 1802, Peshwa Bajirao signed the subsidiary treaty at Bassein. Bassein. The next question. The French sent Dash in 1758 to re-establish the French in India. So it is Count de Lally. Okay. Now the next set of questions are to state them whether they are true or false. Let us look at them. The first one, Oudh was annexed in 1856. It is true. The second one, in 1799 Tipu Sultan defeated the British. It's false. The subsidiary alliance system was introduced by Lord Wellesley. This is true. The fourth, Warren Hastings became the Governor General of India. True. The Nizam of Hyderabad was the last to accept the subsidiary alliance. This is false. The next one, the first factory of French East India Company was set up at Surat. This is also false. Okay. Now we will look at longer questions. Okay. Now these are here. Obviously you can see that if you have looked at my earlier lessons, what I normally used to do was to write down the main points of the answers as well. But I think this is a new exercise that we can do. So we'll have a discussion and I'll also help you get the answers of the questions, but instead of writing it down on the screen, I'll have a discussion with you. Okay. What is mercantilism? All right. Now, mercantilism was an economic policy. Economic policy. All right. So whenever we see the question of what is mercantilism, the first thing that you need to think of is that it is an economic policy, okay, which was introduced in Europe during the 16th to 18th centuries. All right. And under this policy, the government controlled the industry and trade. Okay, so basically the government has full control over trade and industry. So mercantilism thus is an economic policy that was introduced in 16th to 18th centuries in Europe, and under this policy the government has control over the trade and industry. Okay, so that is mercantilism. Now let's look at the second question. When was the East India Company established in India and what were the causes for their establishment? Okay. So the East India Company was established in the year 1600. Now causes, there are many causes to put, but we can put some causes that we have understood from this lesson. Okay, so the first cause is that how there was a great demand, okay, great demand for Indian goods like spices, gold, cotton textiles, etc. in the European market in Europe. Okay, and a second cause is that the trade in these goods, okay, these goods from India brought huge profits to the European traders and European merchants. So these were the main causes, okay, these were the main causes which attracted the English East India Company to come to India for trade, to trade with the Indian merchants and Indian traders. Okay, so these were the main causes for the establishment of English East India Company in India. All right. So third question is basically we have to write the causes of the Battle of Plassey, and we also have to look at the its result. Okay. So basically the causes and result of the Battle of Plassey. So we can write like two of the main causes of the Battle of Plassey is that the rampant or the misuse of trade privileges that were given by the Nawab of Bengal or the ruler of Bengal to the British or the East India Company. Okay, so that is number one causes, the misuse of the trade privileges that were given to them. And number two is the non-payment of tax and duty by the officers or officials of the East India Company to the Nawab of Bengal. Okay, so these are the two causes that led to the Battle of Plassey. Now the results, what were the results of the Battle of Plassey is that when the war ended, okay, when the battle ended, Sirajuddaula, the Nawab of Bengal, was put to prison and then later he died. Okay, and with Sirajuddaula being put behind the bar, Mir Jafar became the Nawab of Bengal. Now, another main result of this battle was that this battle paved the way for the British into Bengal as well as into the whole of India. So this battle was one of the most important battles that were fought by the British East India Company in India. Okay. Now, when we have to look at the causes of the Battle of Boxer, similar to the Battle of Plassey, now the main cause of the Battle of Boxer is also the misuse of the privilege, okay, misuse of the trade privilege, which was provided to the English East India Company. Okay, and also the second cause was the British East India Company were trying to expand their influence and expand their control and trying to interfere into the affairs of the Indian rulers. Okay, so that caused the Battle of Boxer. Now the main result of the Battle of Boxer was that it gave actual control, it gave power and control over Bengal. All right, and then it also granted Diwani rights. All right, Diwani rights. Okay, and what was that? That was the right to collect taxes from Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. Okay, and as a result of this battle, the East India Company could also now freely trade, okay, without any duty, freely trade in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. So these were the results of the Battle of Boxer. Now let us move to the next question. Now the next question asks about the difference between the Battle of Plassey and the Battle of Boxer. Now this is a very easy question. Now we've already understood Battle of Plassey, the results of Battle of Plassey, and then causes and results of Battle of Boxer. Now just make two tables and try to put the differences as you see fit. Like for example, you can first write when was the battle fought. So the first point would be Battle of Plassey was fought in 1757 and Battle of Boxer was fought in 1764. Okay, now Battle of Plassey was fought between the Nawab of Bengal and the East India Company. Battle of Boxer was fought between the English and Mir Qasim uh, with the Mughal emperor and the rulers of Awadh and the ruler of Awadh. Okay, so that is the difference. And then you can also write the cause. The cause for the Battle of Plassey was was how the trading provisions were misused by the British government. Okay, and the same thing can also be written for Boxer. Okay, and can also be added misuse of trading privileges as well as the expansionist or the expansion and control increase in expansion and control of the East India Company. All right, and then the result is Battle of Plassey led to the entry of East India Company into Bengal as well as the rest of the world, rest of India. And Battle of Boxer, the main result was that it provided complete control over Bengal, okay, and it also granted Diwani rights, okay, to the East India Company. So these are the main differences that you can write about the Battle of Plassey and Boxer. You can add more if you would like, but depending on what you want to write, how many points you want to put, and the number of marks that this question, when it comes for your exam or test, it carries, depending on that you can answer. Now the next question is what was the reason of conflict between the Marathas and the kingdom of Mysore with the British? Okay. Now, the main reason, okay, for conflict, the main reason why there was a conflict between the British and the Marathas and the rulers in Mysore was that the Maratha rulers and the rulers of Mysore, they were great threats to the English East India Company. Okay, they were threat to their expansion. They were threat to their control, which was increasing and was spreading across India in various parts of the world, various parts of our country, or various parts of India. So that was the main reason which led to conflict between the English East India Company and the Indian rulers like the Marathas and the rulers of Mysore. Okay. The next question. So the answer to this would be the next question is what resulted in the annexation of the Punjab by the British? So we can say that as a result of the annexation of Punjab by the British, the first result is that Punjab now came under the British rule, or Punjab now came under the control of the East India Company, English East India Company. And the second is that now uh, the power of the Sikh, okay, the power of the Sikh uh, were brought under the control of the East India Company. And the third result is that a British representative, or the British resident, now was put in Punjab, who would become a British representative in Punjab and interfere in the affairs of Punjab. Okay. The next question: What was the doctrine of lapse? So, what is doctrine of lapse? Which kingdoms were annexed under it? So now this is quite an easy question. So you can say that doctrine of lapse was devised by Lord Dalhousie. Okay, it was for annexation of the Indian kingdoms. Okay. And according to this doctrine, any princely state, any princely state or territory under the direct influence um, of the British East India Company as a vassal state under the British subsidiary system would automatically be annexed if the ruler died without a direct heir. So this was what the doctrine was all about. Okay. Now, which kingdoms were annexed under it? So the kingdoms that were annexed under it were states of Satara, okay, Satara, Jaithpur and Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, Jhansi, Oudh, Arcot, etc. Okay, so you can write whatever kingdoms that we have learned about in this lesson as well. Now let us look at the next question. The next question asks us to define subsidiary alliance system. Now, just like the doctrine of lapse, this system was devised by Lord Wellesley. Okay, and under this doctrine, the British Indian rulers were forced to come under British protection by suspending their native armies, maintaining British troops within their states, and surrendering their foreign affairs to the British. Okay, so this is what subsidiary alliance system meant. Now the next question: discuss the methods used by the British to establish and expand their empire in India. So now this is a very this is a very interesting question, and here you can put lot of methods that were used by the British to establish its control and also expand its control over India. Okay, so we can start by saying how British East India Company got rid of its rival European trading companies like the French, Dutch, Portuguese, etc. Okay, by fighting wars with them. So first of all, you can discuss about the Carnatic Wars. Okay, the three Carnatic Wars, the series of wars that were fought between the British and the French. Okay, so that you can write, because by the end of the war, the British became victorious. That means it emerged as one of the powerful European traders in India. Okay, and then we can also you can also write about the various wars that and battles that the English East India Company fought with the Indian rulers, right? Like the Mysore Wars. Okay, you can write about the Mysore Wars. You can write about the wars with the Marathas, etc. And then you can say by the end of the with the end of these battles and the wars, the British East India Company became victorious, and then it started to have exercise its control or have control over the territories and the kingdoms of the Indian rulers. Okay, and then after that you can write about the annexation policies. There were two annexation policies during this time. The first of all is the doctrine of lapse. Okay, then just like how we before this we answered the question, you can briefly write about the doctrine of lapse, who devised it, who introduced it, and what it was all about. And the second one is the subsidiary alliance. So what it was, who introduced it, and what it did to the Indian rulers' kingdoms, and how it helped in annexing the kingdoms of the Indian rulers, and thereby ultimately expanding the British Empire. Okay, so that you can write point by point. All right. Now the last question. Okay, the last question is. The last question is, why were the Indian states easily defeated by the British? Now there are various reasons for this, all right, but let's discuss some of them. The first of all is that the Indian rulers and their kingdoms were small, and they were quite weak. They had just emerged with the decline of the Mughal Empire, and they were not strong and not so powerful. Okay, they were small and they were weak. And the second reason is that the Indian rulers were busy fighting amongst themselves. There was no unity between them, and so the British East India Company took advantage of them fighting amongst each other most of the times, and then annexed them. Okay. The fourth reason is that because the Indian rulers were busy fighting amongst themselves, their subjects, the citizens, the people, could not be loyal towards them. Okay, they drifted away from them, and they were not loyal to their rulers. Okay. And the fifth reason is that the English East India Company were superior in terms of their naval force, in terms of their navy, and in terms of their mastery over the sea. Because of this reason, they were able to get rid of their rival trading companies like the French, the Dutch, the Portuguese, etc., and establish their control and emerge as the biggest power and the powerful trading company in India. Okay, so these are some of the reasons. Now with this we come to the end of this lesson. Okay, so in this lesson, if I have to quickly summarize, what we learned was how the English East India Company, on their arrival in India try to establish themselves first as a trading company and then try to expand their influence, try to expand their power and control over the various parts of India. And we saw how they did that. There were various methods they followed in order to be that, in order to emerge as powerful and in order to have control, establish control over various parts of India. Okay, so this was a brief understanding as to how the East India Company, which was a trading company, okay, became a powerful company with enough control and power over Indians and over the Indian territory in the 18th and 19th century. Okay, so in the next lesson, we'll learn more about what happens after this event. Okay, so with this, I end this lesson with the hope that I'll see you again in the next class. Until then, you take care.